Scott of South Carolina.
Wow. 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 Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, Milwaukee. Are you ready for 4 more years of Donald Trump? Oh, me too. Listen, if you didn't believe in miracles before Saturday, you better be believing right now. Thank God Almighty that we live in a country that still believes in the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the Alpha and the Omega. And our God still saves, he still delivers, and he still sets free. Because on Saturday, the devil came to Pennsylvania holding a rifle, but an American lion got back up on his feet and he roared. Oh yeah, he roared. Yeah, yes he did. Yes he did. You see, America, this is a difficult time for our nation. Inflation is crushing families. Illegal immigration is crushing American workers. Failing schools and victimhood culture are crushing our poorest kids. And the weakness of the commander-in-chief has invited world wars all around our world. Joe Biden is asleep at the wheel and we're headed over a cliff. We hear despair in the voices of a millennial couple raising 2 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment because they can't afford a house. We see pain on the faces of Gold Star parents because their commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, literally forgets their son died in uniform on his watch. America, we deserve better. We deserve so much better. I was raised by a single mom in poverty. We had plastic spoons, not silver spoons. But she taught me to work hard, to take responsibility, and reject victimhood. Thank God for my wonderful mama. I know this is going to offend the liberal elites. Every time I say it, it offends them. But let me say it one more time. America is not a racist country. No, we're not. But if you were looking for racism today, you'd find it in cities run by Democrats. Look on the south side of Chicago. Poor black kids trapped in failing schools. Thousands shot every single year, including one of my former interns, Daquan. But there's good news. It's conservative values that restores hope. It's Republican policies that lifts people up. I partnered with the greatest president of my generation, President Donald J. Trump. On the biggest tax cuts ever for working people and single moms, and opportunity zones for neighborhoods that need them most. But Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they give illegal immigrants free hotel rooms while our veterans sleep on the streets. Disgusting, disgusting. Trump secured our border once, and Donald Trump will secure it again. Listen, this November, we are not deciding simply the fate for the next 4 years. We're setting a course for the next 40 years. I see our heartland filled with huge American factories, powered by abundant American energy, building what America needs, creating generational wealth for blue-collar workers. You see, we are the Republican Party of Frederick Douglass and of Abraham Lincoln, of Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. But we, 4 more years. I love it. Awesome. We are not simply the party of our leaders. We are also the party of a young woman in Wisconsin taking over her family farm, an Hispanic father working 16-hour days in Nevada, and a black teenager in Philly starving for opportunity. We're not just the grand old party of the past. We are the great opportunity party of America's future. And there's only, hear me clearly, and there's only one person who can make that vision a reality: Donald J. Trump. God bless America. For the people living in impoverished communities, under Donald Trump, we saw My Opportunity Zone signed into law. What that means is $70 billion committed to the poorest communities, oftentimes majority minority. $70 billion has led to, in those communities, about an 8% wage growth versus 3% outside of the zones, 20% appreciation in your property values, and the restoration of hope. It was a really good 4 years for people who grew up like I did in a single-parent household mired in poverty. So talking about opportunity zones is talking about perhaps the most powerful force for good from the anti-poverty focus on the private sector we've seen in my lifetime.
One more.
Listen, it's always good to hear your name called if it's called in a positive way, but bottom line is it's not about me. It's about what can we do to make sure that the American people experience their version of the American dream, and that's what we should all be focused on and working towards.
Thank you guys. You're good.
I'm asking pastors and believers to come together to pray for this great nation. Our political process has no room for violence in it. I will say this and say it clearly. After the second assassination attempt, it is time for Christians, left and right, red or blue, black and white, to come together to pray for this nation, to pray for a political process without any violence. It is what America needs. We need all believers on their knees asking God for all candidates to be safe in the political process. God bless America. Get on our knees. It's time for us to pray. When the special counsel finds that President Biden is not fit to stand before a jury on classified documents, how in the world is he the commander-in-chief of the greatest military on the face of the earth? It just can't be, but it is. We need 4 years of Donald Trump, not 4 more years. Heck, 4 more days of Joe Biden. He was lost in his press conference to make us feel better about the disaster uncovered in the special counsel. He referred not to Sisi, the president of Egypt, but of Mexico. So the mistakes continue. Listen, it is time for a change. The commander-in-chief has to be fit for duty, and this one is not. Hello, South Carolina. I gotta say, let me do a quick survey. How many of y'all are here for 4 more years of Donald Trump? Absolutely. I gotta say, when you look at the Joe Biden economy, it is devastated. You gotta boo. I hear ya. It's devastated young Americans. But when we were here under President Donald Trump, we had 2% inflation. We also, with Donald Trump, we had a closed southern border. We need a president who respects this nation enough to close our southern borders and save American lives. If we don't take care of South Carolina, we can't help any other country on the planet. We must take care of America and South Carolina. I want a president who will restore law and order in our country. We need a president who respects law enforcement. We don't want a president who defunds the police. We want a president who refunds the police. To every law enforcement officer here today, let us thank them for their service right now. President Trump gave our military a 9% increase in pay. President Trump loves our military. We deserve a commander-in-chief with a backbone. We deserve a commander-in-chief who brings us world peace. We deserve President Donald J. Trump. I'm about out of time. Let me close with this. Tomorrow, I can't hear you. Tomorrow, let South Carolina send a message to all America. The Republican primary is over, and Donald Trump is our nominee. I can't believe the hoax, this sham, this absolute injustice justice system. DA Bragg and the judge should be ashamed of themselves. This isn't just ridiculous. This actually erodes the confidence that Americans have in the justice system. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. But good news is coming. DA Bragg, hear me clearly. You cannot silence the American people. You cannot stop us from voting for change. Joe Biden's injustice, Joe Biden's two-tier injustice system, weaponizing the justice system of the United States of America against a political opponent, un-American. Joe Biden, you're fired. We the people stand with Donald Trump. Hello. This is winter in Charleston. It's a good day. Let me just start off by talking about something that I think is fundamentally important to our democracy, is to have the President of the United States consider all Republicans racist. It's, in my opinion, ridiculous, especially as his own vice president has said he opposed busing. So to see the kind of comments that come out of this president is just remarkable, disappointing as a citizen, and certainly one of the reasons why we need a new president in the White House. Happy to answer a question or two.
Senator, Donald Trump is leading with white evangelical voters in South Carolina, 69 and 22%. Why do you think that is?
I think the fact of the matter is that his policies when he was president were without question policies that united the country. Success breeds success. And when you look at the success we had economically from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we saw the lowest unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics, Asians. One of the things that we're hearing around the state, you look at the voters, particularly voters of color, 40% of African American men have said without question they have more money. Therefore, they're looking at Donald Trump as a viable option for this November. The Christians, we look at the success that we had during the crisis, the COVID crisis, and one of the things that was successful was that we found a way to help nonprofits and churches stay open so that they could be the first line of defense, and that was a powerful tool brought to us by the Trump years.
Senator, what's your relationship like with Nikki Haley right now?
Well, I mean, I think it's about as it was beforehand, honestly. We didn't talk a lot before then, and we don't talk a lot now. But in the end, I look at the comments coming from the Haley camp and her son, calling me Judas. And the one thing I think about is the importance of remembering that politics sometimes brings out the best in people and the worst in people. And you have to have an attitude of forgiveness if you're going to play this game long term. And frankly, she was a good person before her family made the comments. I think of her as a good person now. I certainly look forward to having her support for Trump in the days coming ahead.
What are you predicting?
Do you believe that after the primary on Saturday that she should step aside for the good of the party?
Well, I think for the good of the country. I mean, the bottom line is simply this, that I made the determination myself back in November that America wanted someone who was more forceful, more provocative, and a little bit more rambunctious to help clean out some of the challenges that were stubborn and persistent in our nation. And so many of those challenges we can see today in the policies of the Biden administration, from an open, insecure, unsafe southern border to the challenges that we see economically. The one person that stands in the way of having a conversation between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is Nikki Haley. And so getting out of the way is incredibly important, not for the party, but for America's future.
Senator, do you support the impeachment of Mayorkas, or what are your thoughts on that?
Certainly, the House had the courage to impeach Mayorkas. The best way to eliminate Mayorkas, however, being the secretary, is to actually fire Joe Biden. The Senate, we have no anticipation or expectation that there will be a successful next step in that process, because we know that the Democrats control the Senate. So if we really want to change the trajectory of the country as it relates to immigration, illegal immigration, we have to do so by having someone, a commander-in-chief who respects our borders, who wants to close our borders.
Two more. Trump have to win by on Saturday to prove that Nikki Haley is not a contender?
Well, that's a good question, honestly. Let me think about that. If you won in Iowa, you won in New Hampshire, and you win in South Carolina, and every poll going forward says you can't win, I think a win would be sufficient, but I would expect a 20-point-plus win in the home state where she was the governor and a state representative. If that doesn't send a clear message, I'm not sure what does.
Senator, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that embryos are children. That's raised questions over whether in vitro fertilization can move forward. Is that a stance that you agree with?
Well, I haven't studied the issue, so I'm going to let Nikki Haley continue to go back and forth on that issue by herself.
Time for two more guys.
Senator Trump has said that you campaign better for him than you do for yourself. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think that the whole concept of James 4:10, which I struggled with on the campaign trail, my campaign, we've had lots of conversations publicly and privately about the importance of how do you exalt yourself and promote yourself while remaining humble. I've struggled with that on the campaign trail. Now, having a conversation about the future of America and President Trump being that leader is very easy. There's no internal conversation about when are you doing too much self-promotion. So the truth of the matter is that I'm far better encouraging and being excited and motivated for President Trump than I was for myself, because I don't have that internal debate going on.
Last question.
Repeatedly, Trump likening him having to pay his fine in the New York civil fraud trial to the killing of Alexei Navalny.
Yeah, I think the one thing we can get out of the judgment in New York is that every business person who fears for the future of their business because of the absolute oppressive nature of the courts in New York, they are now considering leaving the state. It is absolutely insane that you would see that kind of judgment coming out of New York. Thank you very much.
Do you think Putin's at fault?
Now, Vivek, I don't think would be at all because he's perfect, right? And Tim Scott, I know would never. That's no chance. Hey, Tim, do you want to say something? Come on. I want him to say something.
New Hampshire. The president said a double-digit win in New Hampshire, and you delivered a double-digit win for President Trump. But I'm going to invite you to my home state starting tomorrow, where this election is over. It is time for the Republican Party to coalesce around our nominee and the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. Let's get that party started tonight.
What a good guy. What a good man he is. But just remember, I did hear Nikki say, and now it's off to South Carolina. Well, I love South Carolina.
Hello from all over the world. God bless you. How are you doing? Excellent, excellent. I will say I love the concept, the topic of restoring the American dream. One of the things I think about when I think about restoring the American dream is where my dream started. My dream started with a little lady named Frances Scott, my mother. Here's a woman working 16-hour days, trying to keep the lights on and food on the table. And she taught me early on. She said, son, if it is to be, it's up to me. That I had to take the individual responsibility to make sure I invested all I had into the life the good Lord and my mama gave to me. Now, how many of y'all know that even when you get good information and good advice, you don't always follow it? I am not the only one. Good. So by the time I was a freshman in high school, my mother working those 16 hours days, giving me the dream of shooting for the moon, and even if you miss it, you'll be among the stars. If I heard that one time, I heard it 1,000 times. But unfortunately for me, I didn't pay close attention. So as a freshman, I failed out of high school, failing 4 subjects. I failed world geography. I think I'm the first senator to fail civics, which is the study of politics. I will say, though, after 10 years in the United States Senate, I am not the only person failing civics in America's capital. A lot of my friends to the left are failing civics, too. I also failed Spanish and English. Lord have mercy on me. When you fail Spanish and English, no one calls you bilingual. No, they call you bi-ignorant because you can't speak in any language. But as I think back of that kid failing out, I had 2 major blessings. One was a mother who believed that prayer was the key and faith would unlock the door. And she taught me to put my faith in God, no matter my circumstances, no matter the situation. One of the most important keys to restoring the American dream is having a faith-filled country where all things are possible. I met a mentor, John Moniz, a Chick-fil-A operator, who taught me Luke 6:38. He taught me that if you're going to restore and experience your American dream, you have to first give before asking to receive. That's Luke 6:38. That if you give, it shall be given unto you in good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall it come back to you. Those two pillars in my life helped me to understand that all things were still possible even for a kid who had lost his way. I'll tell you this, though. As that child who went to 4 different elementary schools, by the 4th grade, quality education is a necessity for experiencing the American dream. And if we are going to experience the American dream, we must make sure that every zip code in America has quality education, and that will take having a president who believes in school choice, a president like Donald Trump. We must believe in our own future and have that future start in every single zip code in America. As my education continued, I finished high school on time because my mother, that freshman year, as she went through the shooting for the moon and missing it, she also taught me that there are consequences to your actions. Let me say that one more time. There are consequences to your actions. Can I get an amen? I only have 4 minutes, so I'm going to make this quick. How many of y'all think that the consequences for me were timeout? How many of y'all think that consequences for me was a stern conversation? How many of y'all know the consequences for me was going out to the tree and picking your old switch and having a conversation about consequences? That was my mama. I'm not sure about your mama, but it sounds like you grew up with her too. But in the end, I learned very quickly that if I applied myself, when you overcome your obstacles, you start seeing a brighter future. My mentor taught me I was blessed with the greatest citizenship on all of God's green earth, being an American. And as an American, all things are possible if you work hard. And John Moniz taught me that having a job is a good thing, but creating jobs is even better. John taught me that if you have a good income, you will have a pretty good lifestyle. But if you create a profit, you can change your community. Restoring the American dream means having people in leadership who appreciate the importance of allowing the American people to have their money back, which is tax cuts. And as a senator who helped write the TCJA, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the one thing I had an opportunity to do was to think back and remember that those folks living in poverty like I grew up, they need all the cash they can keep. And cutting taxes by 70% for a single mother is one of the ways that we as conservatives can restore hope, create opportunities, and bring the American dream back to the poorest communities in this country. And by doing so, we usher in free markets and capitalism. That is a beautiful thing. I'll wrap it up with this. I've been on the trail for the last several weeks. Tomorrow is a really important election here in South Carolina. It is time for us to move to the general election, which means tomorrow I'm asking all my friends and supporters to vote for Donald Trump. So we get 4 more years of a president who believes in school choice. So we get 4 more years of a president who believes in tax cuts. We get 4 more years of a president who wants to close our southern border. We get 4 more years of saving American lives from the disaster of fentanyl coming across our southern borders. But we also get the privilege of firing Joe Biden and eliminating Bidenomics. We also get the privilege here in South Carolina tomorrow of making the decision to send the message to America that restoring the American dream starts with South Carolina's Republican primary, where we decide Donald J. Trump is our next president and our nominee. God bless the United States of America. Hello, New Hampshire. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. I outkicked my coverage, just the way it works. So since I got engaged this past weekend, I've been feeling a little poetic. Do y'all mind if I try some poetry on y'all? Roses are red, violets are blue. Firing Joe Biden is just a thing to do. Now, you may be asking the question, why? Under Joe Biden, law and order is out the window. They have defunded the police. It is time to put Donald Trump back in the White House and refund the police. We must respect every single man and woman in blue. Our streets depend on it. As a kid who grew up in poverty and in some poor neighborhoods, we wanted more police, not less police. But Joe Biden and those DAs that believe in no cash bail, they're destroying inner cities. They're destroying our nation. It is time to put Donald Trump back in the White House. Under Joe Biden, inflation has been as high as 9% in a single month. Young people today can't even afford to buy a home. But when we had President Donald J. Trump in the White House, inflation was only 2%. We had the greatest economy in my lifetime. Not only did we have 2% inflation, we had the lowest unemployment in 70 years for women. An all-time low for black folks and Hispanics and Asians. The majority of y'all, 50-year low. Donald Trump delivers, not for black people, not for white people, not for Hispanics, but for Americans. He loves Americans. Red, white, and blue. I heard every beauty pageant, someone says, what do they want? They want world peace. I'm not saying Donald J. Trump is a good-looking dude, don't get me wrong. But what I am saying is if you want world peace, you want Donald Trump. Think about it, though. Think about it. Today, we have China coming into Cuba. The Iranians near Brazil. Ukraine, you remember the days before Donald Trump when there was an Obama and a Biden in the White House and there was an incursion? I can't hear y'all. Did y'all say yay? Boo is right. an invasion and an incursion before Donald Trump, an incursion after Donald Trump. How about in the Middle East? Israel, our strongest ally in the Middle East. Babies burned, beheaded, women raped. And what does Joe Biden do? He sat on his hands. We need Donald Trump for world peace. We had a better economy. We had world peace. Trump, 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 Trump.
Governors, one of the most respected governors in the country, brilliant guy, made a lot of money, and then he said, let me run for office. We know about that. And he is truly from North Dakota and done really an incredible job. And he's a friend of mine, become a friend of mine, and a really good one, Doug Burgum. Doug.
When I became governor, it was the same night that Donald Trump was elected back in November 16, and the world changed because I've had an opportunity to serve under Joe Biden as president and Donald Trump. When Donald Trump was president, our nation was safe and our nation was prosperous. Joe Biden, his weakness has led to war. His weakness and his appeasement has led to our adversaries like Iran and Russia making hundreds of billions of dollars selling oil to China. Economy, energy, national security, those are all three tied together. There's one candidate in this race that understands how to make our nation more secure, our nation more prosperous. It's the person who did it when he was president before. That's Donald J. Trump. Biden has been a disaster on the economy, he's been a disaster on energy, and he's been a disaster on national security, including the border. Under Donald J. Trump, our cities were safer, our country was safer, and we were absolutely economically better off than we are now. Joe Biden's energy policies are empowering our dictators, and they're hurting our economy. They're raising the prices of what you pay for gas in your car, food on your table, and energy to heat your homes. We need Donald Trump. America needs Donald Trump, and the reason why we do is because he's the individual that knows how to solve these problems. He knows how to keep America safe. He knows how to make us more prosperous. And I want to tell you, I've got an ask for all of you in New Hampshire. I've met a lot of you campaigning around the state, but the ask is this. Tomorrow you've got to get out and bring your friends. You've got to bring everybody and vote because the eyes of the world are on New Hampshire tomorrow. They're going to be looking at how you vote. We end this primary tomorrow in New Hampshire with a fantastic win. And guess what? It's not just America. It's every foreign dictator. It's every terrorist group is going to be rethinking their plans when they know we've got a strong and experienced president who will stand up to them and bring America and make America great again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doug. That was good. Hey, they did a very good job, didn't they? You'll be seeing a lot of them, and we have another one. Everybody knows him, and today it was a big story, the biggest story out there. He's engaged to be married. We never thought this was going to happen. What's going on? A very, very fine person, a man that we work so closely, and I work so closely with. He was in the Senate. He's been there now a long time, and one of the most respected people in all of Washington, Senator Tim Scott, South Carolina.
All right, all right, all right. If you want 4 more more years of Donald Trump? Let me hear you scream. If you want the race to be over tomorrow, let me hear you scream. All right. How many of y'all want 4 more years of low inflation under Donald Trump? How many of y'all want 4 more years of low crime and high law and order under Donald J. Trump? How many of y'all want me to stop talking so you can hear from your next president, Donald J. Trump? 4 more years. 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 4 more years.
Thank you, fellas. Great people. They are great people. Thank you very much. That's a great group of people. You'll be seeing a lot of them. Sadly, not everyone is willing to put our country first. Here in New Hampshire, Nikki Haley has made an unholy alliance with rhinos, never-Trumpers, Americans for no prosperity. Did you ever hear of them? Did you ever hear of them? Americans for no prosperity. Bad people, right, Steve? Bad people, you know? They're bad people. But tonight I'm truly honored to bring a man on stage, and I've known him for a long time, and we just happened to get lucky. I talked about opportunity zones. I said, I wonder if we could get him in from Washington. He travels very quickly because he does happen to be with us, and he gave me a tremendous endorsement 2 days ago, and he's going to say a few words to you, and he's a highly respected gentleman, and he's a wonderful friend. And remember, he's, you know, I'm running against somebody from his state, so it's not that easy to do. I mean, she is running from the state of South Carolina, which, by the way, where I'm leading her by over 50 points, so I don't know what the hell kind of a job she did, but in South Carolina. But he's a senator from South Carolina. He's a fantastic man, Tim Scott.
Is this Donald Trump country? Oh, yeah. That's it. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You know, we love you, Coach. Thank you. Let me say, we need a president who will close our southern border today. We need Donald Trump. We need a president. We need a president who will unite our country. We need Donald Trump. We need a president who will protect your Social Security and my mama's Social Security. We need Donald Trump. We need a president today who will stop the crime and recklessness in the streets. We need a president who will restore law and order. We need Donald Trump. Oh, we need a president who will lower our taxes and not raise our taxes. We need a president like Donald Trump. We need a president who understands the American people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We need a president our foreign adversaries are afraid of and our allies respect. We need, you see, we need a president who doesn't see black or white. We see a president who sees Americans as one American family. We need. And that's why I came to the very warm state of New Hampshire to endorse the next president of these United States, President Donald Trump.
Thank you, Tim. That's great. Very, very good man and a very respected man, and I appreciate that he came all the way over. You know, you could just put it out over truth. We got to go with truth. It's the best. But we put it out, and just a respected guy, and having his endorsement means a lot. We have tremendous numbers of endorsements. They're pouring in right now. But having Tim is very important. So now is the time, and you see that through what was just said, for the Republican Party to unify. We have to unify. We have to go after these crazy people that we're dealing with. Instead of wasting hundreds of millions of dollars attacking Trump and others, we need to come together and focus all our energy and resources in defeating crooked Joe Biden, our worst president. It's the worst president. Sadly, not everyone is willing to put our country first. We have to put America first. Here in New Hampshire, Nikki Haley has made an unholy alliance with rhinos, never-Trumpers, Americans for No Prosperity. Did you ever hear of Americans for No Prosperity? Globalists and radical left communists to get liberals and Biden supporters to vote for her in the Republican primary, because that's what they do. They questioned me about that today. They said, oh, Democrats don't vote. They already signed up almost 5,000 Democrats to vote. That's your governor's fault. He could have ended that very easily, but he doesn't do the job. Maybe he's got something else in mind. I think he's lazy, actually. You want to know the truth? In Iowa, nearly 50% of Haley's voters said they were voting for Biden in November. So the people that voted for her, and think of it, 50% said they're going to vote for Biden in November. And now the leftists are spending millions and millions of dollars to flood your airways with Nikki propaganda. It's Nikki propaganda. And she's not going to do the job. So I'm going to ask somebody else to say, because he came on board and Lindsay wanted him and the lieutenant governor wanted him and everybody wanted him. Henry and Peggy wanted him. So I thought he was okay, but he didn't love speaking about himself because he's a good person. See, I have no problem with that. It's a problem. What a personality, I don't know. But he endorsed me, and then we asked him to go and do a few shows, and, you know, they're not often nice shows. They're very hostile. And what he did was, I said, is this the same man? And he campaigned nicely, but he's a high-quality person. When he was supporting me the day, is that correct, Lindsay? When he went out, Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott, he went out and he was ripping it. I said, what happened to Tim Scott? What a dynamo. And he has been one of our great advocates. He's been doing things that have been unbelievable. And I'm just very happy he didn't have that same energy, drive, because I think I probably would have been out of the race a long time ago. But I want to say, a very special man. I really do mean it. So many people have such great respect for him, and you're very lucky to have him in the state. Tim, please, stay if you will.
Hello, South Carolina! The longer I speak, the less you hear of him. So let me just ask one survey question, and you better answer it loud and clear. Is South Carolina Trump country?
Thank you very much, Tim. Really great job. Amazing. Another man, not a lot of people